takes first steps into a new South Africa.
Hi, this is Ila Gandhi speaking. I'm giving a little message on the 30th anniversary of the release of Madiba. Indeed, when I look back 30 years back, it was such an elated moment for all of us in South Africa. It was like a dream come true. And we felt that all the struggles, all the trials and tribulations had come to some fruition at long last. And so it was just a wonderful moment for all of us in South Africa. There was such a euphoria all around. There was no high or low, there were no races, there was no division. Everybody was at one. And when we look now, 30 years hence, and we see all the divisions in our society, it is sad. So that's my message for today. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Professor Tulima Donsela, Chair of Social Justice, Stellenbosch University, and founder of the Mplan and Tuma Foundation. The day Nelson Mandela was released was a day like no other. We wanted him to be released in our lifetime, but it was difficult to believe it had happened. The air was pregnant with so much joy, so much expectation and dreams.
I was the Member of Parliament for Houghton on the 2nd of February 1990 when President de Klerk announced the release of Nelson Mandela from jail, and 9 days later I was present outside the Cape Town City Hall when indeed he did appear before tens of thousands of us outside that venue on that historic day. It was a very long wait. It was well worth waiting for. He'd been waiting for 27 years. And I think I realized then, as I reflect now, that this was South Africa's moment of destiny and history. And I went on to enjoy a 20-year friendship with Mandela, occasionally interspersed with some clashes. And I think as we look back 30 years ago, we can see that this was a moment that changed the course of our country's history, and I think we all should be deeply appreciative of that fact.
Vusi Tambawara, global speaker and high-growth venture investor. I remember the day Nelson Mandela was released from prison. I was home. I was a 6-year-old boy at the time, and I was home with mom and dad, and my father went out to go and spend some time with his friends, and my mom stayed with us. And I remember it being shown on TV. I think it was CCV back then, and I remember him, walking. There was that long walk, just as he was walking out of the prison, and people around him, and it was incredible. But I think what I remember even more was how the township that I was in, Wattville, Benoni on the East Rand, also just erupted with absolute celebration. And I think as South Africans today, we need to remind ourselves not only of what we're capable of, but also how far we've come by remembering what have been some incredible victories in the journey to where we are today.
My name is Matata Tsedu. I'm a former editor. When Mr. Mandela was released, on the day itself, all the political considerations about whether de Klerk was serious or pulling a wool over our eyes were put aside. All of us, including myself, were very happy that Mr. Mandela was home to be with his family.
I am Dirk Utsia. I'm a professor in political sciences at UNISA. I watched the release of Nelson Mandela live on TV on the 11th of February 1990. Many of us experienced the year 1989 as a deepening of South Africa's political crisis, but it was dramatically redefined by the de Klerk speech. For me, The announcement was one thing, while I felt that the implementation of such a dramatic step still remained uncertain. When I saw Nelson Mandela on the TV screen walking out of Victor Verster prison, it was clear to me that South Africa's politics was changing in front of us. Similar to 3 months earlier when we saw the fall of the Berlin Wall. I felt that we were privileged to be an eyewitness of two major events in world history. I knew on that day that we have reached the point of no return, a huge relief for many that his release unlocked the political deadlock in South Africa.
Well, we must commend our producer Mel for putting together those really beautiful messages about how different role players in society remember that day, today marking the 30th anniversary of the release of former President Nelson Mandela from prison. And we are